All right. So we're gonna get started, man. It's 2 o'clock. Other people will be coming in. We're going. It's
Yes,
on
sir.
live. It's on live as well. So I'm gonna open up in prayer as we always do. So prayer. And for those who are watching, if you're not a Muslim, you can pray in whichever manner you are accustomed to. So prayer. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by depth and oppression of men. O Allah, suffice thou us what is lawful to help keep us away from that which is prohibited, and with thy grace help keep us free from one from that which is besides thee. Ameen. All right, man. So in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, we thank Almighty God, Allah, for his coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. We also thank Almighty God, Allah, for his raising up the most humble and honorable Elijah Muhammad, and for both of them leaving in our midst the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a man that we're going to have some witness bearing about today. So I greet you all with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum to everybody who's logging on. And just give some brief background. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, he said one time before, he said that his witness bearers are too silent, right? And I've had the opportunity to be around the minister. And I just, one of my heart desires is that other people get the opportunity to experience the minister and see how beautiful of a man he is for themselves. And this testimony is several goals. Is to give the believers the opportunity to tell their personal story, how they came to Islam, but also to give those who've been blessed with the opportunity to be around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan the opportunity to testify on his behalf. And we have one of our brothers here today. So if you're watching, you can go on our YouTube page, Mosque 46. It's Mosque 46 AV on YouTube. And you can go to that page and you can actually see some of the previous videos that we actually have. So when you get the opportunity, you know, go and check it out and see some of the previous interviews that we had where people are giving some very good testimony about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We've done Brother Dennis. We've done our brother, the violinist. We've done Brother Sharif, Sister Sadir, Brother Don, several people that we've actually done. So I would encourage you to go and, you know, if you have the opportunity to make sure you go and check it out for yourself. So testimony is powerful, you know. And
Brother Minister Willie, is Mosque 46, 46?
Mosque 46 at Mosque 46 at is Mosque 46 AV.
AVD?
Just AV. That's on YouTube. Mosque 46 AV on YouTube.
What about Facebook?
On Facebook, it's Mosque spelled out, MOSQUE. 46 is spelled out in words. Mosque 46. I've shared it on our Facebook page as well.
Okay.
So it looks like it's a beautiful day there in Chicago, my brother.
It is, Brother Minister. It's a wonderful day, and it's even 100 trillion times more wonderful when you've been able to be blessed to be in the presence of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're about to talk about that. What we can talk about it. We want to talk about
we blessed about 58 degrees, and I'm just driving around here because I literally just left the palace, driving it with a little trepidation because they done started already out here in the city with the protesting and the looting. So,
no, man, I know. So we're gonna get to this. So first, Brother Arthur, first and foremost, we thank you. And Brother Arthur he's the barber to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, brothers and sisters. That's who he is. He's the barber to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And what we want to talk about today is first, can you share with the audience, Brother Arthur, like just your history prior to accepting Islam? Be careful too. I see you drive.
Oh, yes, sir. No, we good. Yes, sir. So basically, brother, you know, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, a little village called Phoenix, Illinois. And, you know, went to high school, you know, local high school, Thornridge High School. And then I went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, straight 85 all the way, you know, but I had some serious conversations with my grandparents about their struggles in the South and, slavery and, Master Charlie and all of that. So I was really equipped, to, understand some measures of the oppressor and, some of the things that, our people have been faced with. And so I
Your sound went out.
What about now?
I get you back. You saying I got you back now.
My second year in college, and I was doing some real devious things, and I was getting ready to get, put out, and a brother that was the dean. Pardon me 1 second. So I'm like, I'm gonna just park over here and finish this Zoom meeting. Is that all right, Bob Michael? Oh, well, I'll just go to the side. I'll go to the side. Okay, thank you, God. Yes, Assalamu alaikum. So, yes, sir, I was getting ready to get kicked out, brother minister, and it just happened to be a brother that was over the administrative hearings and things, and he said, I'm not going to kick you out of school, brother. I'm going to make you join this book club. And that's probably, the beginning of what saved my life and led me to Islam. So, but of course, I didn't read anything dealing with Islam. I read books like Wretched of the Earth by Franz Fanon and books on, Bobby Seale and some of the Panthers, and, just kind of began waking up my conscience about, the struggle and the plight of our people. And then I had a roommate who had the Supreme Wisdom magazine, not the 120 lessons, but the Supreme Wisdom magazine with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the cover. I didn't know what it was, it would just be in the room. And he also had the autobiography of Malcolm X, which I hadn't read yet, but heard so much about. So I read the autobiography of Malcolm X while, in college with him. And that's when my life changed and the third eye opened. And I began to see a world totally in a totally different way. And so I wound up getting kicked out of college anyway, brother, and academically suspended at least. Wow. And so I'm at home now, and I'm really in a depression. And man, I dedicated my life to smoking weed every day, and and that's what I was just going to do. And so then I brought this magazine back home to me. I just packed it up, still never cracked it, never opened it up, brother. And then I started, of course, because now I'm on a quest for knowledge. I studied a little bit of the Hebrew Israelites. I read Ben Ami's book, God, the Black Man and Truth. That's what led me to begin to change my diet. And then I was dating a sister, a young lady who's passed away now, named Melanie. May Allah be pleased with her. And so I had to go to court. And I went downtown Chicago to traffic court, and I'm standing in line waiting to pay for a ticket. And I saw a sister there who was reading a book, and the title of that book struck me. And it was the Fall of America, the blue book, the blue cover book, Fall of America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the title, like I said, struck me. So I excused myself and asked the sister, can I check that book out? Where did she get it from? And she let me check the book out, and I started skimming through the pages. And of course, just a paragraph coming from the messenger is alarming. So, it caught my attention, and, I was like, wow, blown away. She took care of her business, got ready to leave. So she let me hold on to the book until she finished. And then I was getting ready to give it back to her. And the sister said, well, brother, if you're going to read the book, you can have it. My eyes got big, and I was like, really? Really? And she was like, yes, sir. But if you're not going to read it, brother, give me my book back. And I said, no, sister, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. I wasn't saying ma'am and stuff then. I was like, no, sister, I'm going to read it. And so she said, okay, brother. To this day, brother, Minister Willie, I don't know who that sister was, and never seen her again in my life.
Wow.
But that's what began my journey to the Nation of Islam. Now I go back home and open up this little magazine, the Supreme Wisdom, and start looking in that. And so I told my girlfriend at the time, hey, I'm studying this Islam right now, and she really didn't have no parts of it. She didn't want nothing to do with it.
Mm.
And so Easter Sunday, 1994. No, I'm sorry. We went to Savior's Day, 94, UIC Pavilion in Chicago. This was the Savior's Day. Some of the believers that's on may remember where the minister had graced the cover of Time magazine.
Mm.
Ministry of Rage was
Right.
the heading. And so we went to that Savior's Day, brother, and it was over. I had made up in my mind, and I was determined that I was going to be a member of the Nation of Islam. It was funny because when we went in through the check procedure, the sister and I got disconnected. And so I ended up being able to tune in to the lecture without any distraction. And when we left, we had two totally different reactions about what we had just heard and witnessed. Wow. And so I kind of knew where that was going to wind up. So then following, I didn't go back to the mosque after that, brother minister. April of that year, Easter Sunday, I said I was going to go to the mosque. I didn't want to do nothing traditional in terms of Easter. Had no idea the minister was speaking. The minister was speaking the crucifixion of Jesus. Oh my God, it was over. I joined.
Wow, that's quite a testimony, man, and quite a journey. How you ended up getting the book, and you didn't even know that it was connected to the book that you had already. So
I did.
How did you become a barber?
So, brother, Allah blessed me with the gift of cutting hair. Just a gift. I started cutting one of my best friends I grew up with. Shout out to Roderick Sims, a business reality coach, and I just started experimenting on him. He was my guinea pig, for lack of a better term. We were in 7th grade, brother. 7th grade. I started experimenting on his hair with some home clippers, and I never met him up. Whatever style was in, he asked for it, parts, whatever. I did it all with one clipper. Wow. And I just was cutting hair from there and just got better and better and better and better and better. But I never wanted to be a barber, brother minister. I had a little shop set up in my dad's basement. Shout out to my dad, Arthur Stoudemire. I had a shop in his basement, and I was cutting all of my buddies, my friends, co-workers. I was making money, but I was working a job, and they were encouraging me to go. As we speak, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's motorcade is passing.
Wow.
He's on his way back home. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Allah bless him on their journey. So I was like, man, I don't want to be no doggone barber. I was actually at the time when I first started college, I was a pre-pharmacy major. I was going to go to pharmacy school and be a pharmacist. And so my first 2 years was architecture. After I got kicked out and came home, I switched my major to pharmacy because my best friend's mom hooked me up with a job in the pharmacy at Walgreens. And so I changed my major to pharmacy. And I was like, man, I don't want to be no barber because I didn't even see it as a profession. It was just a barber. Like, I didn't see a career in that. It was like equating to some demeaning job to me, but it was just something that I loved to do and I was doing at home. So it wasn't until I joined the Nation of Islam, brother, and learned the Do for Self program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined the message to the black man, that I decided I was going to go to barber school because Allah had already given me a gift. And so now I'm married. We in the Nation, of course. My wife and I married in '94, and the next day our honeymoon was a 13-hour ride to your city, Miles 46, New Orleans.
Wow. All right.
So we spent 6 months there and came back to Chicago, but she was pregnant, and so now my son was scheduled to be, my firstborn son, Ansar, was scheduled to be born in May of '95, and I had made up my mind that I'm going to take vacation around the time his due date is here, and I'm not coming back. I had already enrolled in Barber College, and I had made up my mind that I was going to go out on faith, brother, and that's what I did.
Praise be to Allah. Hey, it's all one of the things from doing these interviews, man. I'm learning how experiences of the believers were preparation for what they're doing now, especially as it relates to service to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So
Yes,
this question is like a several-part question. How long have you been the barber to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? How did it start? And how was that feeling when you were asked like, yo, I'm about to cut the minister's hair, and then you're going to be his consistent barber?
So, brother, let me tell you this. So now, okay, I'm in the nation and I'm cutting hair, right?
Yeah.
From day one, me enrolling in Barber College, I said, I am going to cut the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's hair.
Wow, look at that.
Repeated it over and over and over. Every time I would see him, I would study his hair on the rostrum.
Wow.
I would point different things out. I would see the way it laid, all of the different nuances. I'm talking, this is 95, brother, 95. Wow. I've been studying the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan hair. I would tell my brother, my ace Boone Coon, who started Original Man's Barbershop with me, brother Earl Muhammad, shout out to him. I would tell him, brother, I'm going to cut the minister's hair one day, brother. I'm going to cut the minister's hair one day. And it just kept going, you know, and I was never in doubt. And then there was one particular lecture. I think the lecture was, on this day have I perfected for you your religion. I believe it was that lecture. And he told a story about his barber. And he said, you know, I got a particular barber that I like. He said, and he becomes my barber till he's dead. You right? And so, of course, all of the brothers that, you know, I hang out with and stuff in the FOI heard that. And so they teach, you heard that, brother? Ha, ha, ha. You heard what he said? Ha, 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 ha. He going to be his barber till he dead. I said, yeah, ha, 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 ha. He has to die one day, brother. And so, you know, not with, I love him, you know, may Allah be pleased with Brother Richard Coleman, rest in peace. Got a definite testimony about that as well. So, and so, brother, about, let's say maybe 2012, 2011, Brother Emil, you know, I'm sure the believers know Brother Emil, drives on the minister's, in the minister's motorcade and works on the E-team. He came into the barbershop. He's one of our clients. He said, brother, you know, Minister's barber's kind of, you know, getting up in age now, and he'll be soon looking for, you know, a new barber, a replacement. And I got excited when he said that. And then he said, brother, so you know, you may be next in line. It was over, brother. I felt like that day I had gotten, it was over with, brother minister. That day I had reconciled in my mind, the time is here, brother. Wow. And so, so this is 2011. Now, it wasn't until 3 years later, brother minister, that it actually happened in 2014. But from that time, brother Bill mentioned it to me. A few other brothers mentioned it to me, right? Maybe 6 months, a year or so later. But throughout that 3-year period, I had been getting little whisperings. And then the final blow, I was on the panel of a barber symposium that I was invited to sit on. This is July, I believe it was July 24th. It was either the 14th or the 24th, 2014. And our Supreme Captain, may Allah bless him and his work and his efforts and strides to secure our nation, Mustafa Farrakhan, he called me and said, my father is going to call today for you to come cut his hair. I told him about you because I was cutting I'm the barber of our Supreme Captain as well, by Allah's grace. And he said, I told him about you, and he's going to be calling, you know, to see if you can come to the palace and cut his hair. Now I'm blown away. So I'm on this panel, and I can't hold myself down, brother minister. Myself and brother Earl was on this panel, so I shared the news with brother Earl. You know, and I'm really nervous, but I'm feeling really good. And so it comes my time to speak. And I start speaking and I say, but let me say this before I get too far into my speech. I am expecting probably the most important phone call of my life. So my phone is on, and I have to let you all know that when this phone rings, I have to answer it. So they kind of laughed and, you know, they understood. So I got into my talk, I got through it, and I went and sat back down, and then the phone call came through, so I was able to take it, and I got that call. But before the symposium ended, I was able to get back on the mic, and I explained to them, I said, I did get the phone call, family, and I just want to explain to you all what the phone call was. I told them, I said, I just been blessed to be asked to come to be the barber of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother, the whole damn ballroom went up. Wow. It was crazy, man. It was, you know what I'm saying? Bananas up in there, man. And it was just a lot of love, man. And everybody was like, wow, brother, man, congratulations. Congratulations went around the room, people shaking my hand. And that's how it all happened, brother.
Wow. have you had the opportunity to share that with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? If you did, what did he say about that experience, about in regards to you saying in your mind, one day I'm going to be his barber?
Well, he just, he just nodded his head. Like,
Wow.
that's wonderful, brother. Like that's wonderful. I told him the whole story. You know what I mean? He just smiled.
Wow.
He listened to me and he just smiled, man.
Wow.
And so I said, all praises due to Allah.
Praises
And
to Allah.
I had a consultation with him. I brought several DVD covers with me because, sometimes he would have different looks. And I wanted to know which look, that he preferred, that he liked best. I had a list of questions for him in terms of how he kept up his daily hygiene, with his hair, what his routine was, how he styled it, because I wanted to know everything. And our Supreme Captain accompanied me the first time, and just make sure I was comfortable, and of course make sure I was the man for the job. And we went through the whole process, and when I finished, he said, "Well, son, looks like I got a new barber." And I said, "All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah."
Wow. Wow.
And Allah's grace, brother, it's been on ever since.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
So the other, like,
Yes, sir.
how has, getting a haircut is like a real intimate experience, right?
Yes,
like,
sir.
How has being that close to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how has it deepened your love and your admiration of him?
Oh, my God. Brother, I'm going to try not to tear up. But man, brother, Allahu Akbar. It's indescribable, Brother Willie. It's we're with each other one-on-one, just he and I, in close quarters for a minimum of 3 hours at a time, sometimes for as long as 5. I literally just left before we got on the call, 5 minutes to 2 or so, or that 1:45. And I had been with him this morning since 7 a.m., this morning. And he and I spent that time together, and that's how it usually is. It's a very, very private experience for him. It's probably one of the few times I believe I can say that he has an opportunity to not escape, really, because it's never off, but to have some kind of downtime just for himself, to be, to be served instead of serving every square mile of this planet Earth. So it's a very, very private time for him. And I make sure that I leave no stone unturned in making him the most comfortable that I could possibly make him. And I do that for all of my clients, just to be honest with you, but particularly the minister, because of the weight of his mission. But for me, brother, it's really, it's an indescribable experience. I don't have the words for it. When people ask me, man, how do you do it? Some brothers be like, I couldn't do it. For whatever reasons that they have, they feel that way. They don't feel like they could be around a man that, who exercises that level of divinity. And so I tell people all the time, somebody on the outside, and they're person in my place as the barber, and they were describing to me the man, Louis Farrakhan, I would not believe them. I would not believe that a human being like that even exists.
Mm.
No way would I believe it. If they were describing to me my experience in service to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Mm.
Without me living that experience, I would not believe them, brother minister.
Mm. And so it sounds like you're talking about, because you're there, you are seeing and experiencing the minister's love, his care, his concern. Can you talk about that, like some examples?
It's unreal. Like I said, he's never really not working, but he does try to take that time for himself when we're together to relax and have laughter. And I try to make sure that I, do what I can to keep his spirits up. And he always tells me how much he appreciates being able to laugh with such a job and us living in such a time. But I have never met a person, male, female, man, woman, whose every thought of every second is on God, pleasing God and pleasing his father, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Every second. I don't care what the conversation is about, what the subject matter is about, from sports to construction of a skyscraper. He is going to connect a principle or offer some guidance that God has given through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or in the Holy Quran or the scriptures. When he listens, when he talks to people, I don't care who it is. I've been in his presence when artists have called and people from around the world have called, from overseas. It doesn't matter what time of morning, day, or night. He's giving guidance from what Allah has revealed to him and what he's learned in his post as the servant of Allah to give to people to help make their lives better. He's consumed, brother, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We laugh, we joke, we have a great time, but he's constantly teaching. And it's one thing that stands out to me, and it came to me just really maybe last year sometime, because I would talk to him about various things. Every second, I don't care what the he always points out to me where there's an avenue for Satan to creep in. Whatever it is, he never fails to point out to me in our discourse the opportunity for Satan to come into a situation and disrupt it. At one point I was like, let me keep it 100. You like, man, is it, is there any optimism, what I'm saying here? You know what I'm saying? It's like, really, is everything? But then I began to realize what dawned on me, brother minister, really, is that the nation of Islam, under the guidance and leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has been safe for what? How many years? 77, 78?
Yeah.
I'm talking about under his leadership.
Yeah.
As the national representative, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under his leadership and guidance, the nation of Islam has been safe without incident, brother. Because the messenger told him there will be many traps set for you, brother. Some of them you will snare, but you will not get trapped in one. And I understand why now. Because he careful to leave no room for Satan to come in, interfere. So when we're talking about whatever it is, ideas people come to me with, things that I'm trying to do, that I'm thinking about doing, that I want to do, things that other believers are talking about doing, you know, that I share with him, because I'm blessed to be able to be in a position to get guidance from him, not just for myself, but for the believers and the lost founds and my family and anybody who comes into my circle. So he says, I make an investment in you, brother, because I can't be with the people, but you in the barber shop with the people and with believers who I don't come in contact with. So through you, I share with them and give guidance to them. And that's a heavy responsibility on me, but I take it. I don't feel any pressure because I love sharing with the people what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, or what it is that I can offer from his table, from his wisdom, to help them in any given circumstance.
I bear witness of that, and I would ask you to share this. Remember when I was in Chicago and we were there for the training of the barbers in conflict resolution, you shared some profound wisdom by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You asked him about how do you know when your ego is caught up in your response to an offense? Can you share that with the public?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bismillah. He said, I asked him what you just asked. And he said to me, he gave me a story about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he said, you know, people offended the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, some knowingly and some unknowingly, you know, sitting at the table with him, whatever. And he said, you know, sometimes, you know, the messenger would ignore it. Sometimes he would deal with it, you know. And he said the messenger told him, you know, some people, no, he didn't say the messenger told him. He said to me, you know, sometimes people offend you, brother, and they don't know they offended you until you point it out to them. And then they say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I offended you, you know. And then he said, and then others, you know, who do it, you know, purposely. He said, but when you respond out of your, he said, you know, when you respond out of your ego, he said, because you just like slice a person up. You leave them, you know, you don't leave them no room for you know, apology or remorse. You just cut through them. He said, you know, but when you're not acting out of your ego, then you always leave an individual room for atonement. But when your ego is involved, then you just, you know, you just go in with no remorse. And then in connection with that conversation, he told me that the ego is the devil of self. He said, and until we get rid of ego, we will never get rid of the devil of self. Because it's the ego that drives the Satan in us. Wow. So he said, you know, the messenger would weigh it. You know, sometimes he said, and then he said sometimes the messenger wouldn't even deal with it because he said the messenger knew already where this person was going to end up
Wow.
in the line of time. Wow. So he didn't even waste his time on dealing with that, you know, wasting his breath. So like the minister said, he didn't have idle words.
How do by you being in that, like that's a, you know, most times we go I get a haircut is not that long. So you, like you say, you're around the minister and the minister is always teaching. Like, what can you share that you have learned and seen and observed about the minister's understanding and the minister's compassion toward people?
Oh my God, man. So the first thing is he sees purpose in everybody. We were having a conversation one day, and he said to me, brother, everybody has value.
Everybody.
He said, everybody has value. Then he started, asking scenarios. He said, brother, can you imagine the world without the garbage man? What that would be like in your communities if there was nobody to come collect the garbage? And then he made a couple of more references. And, then of course he said, can you imagine the world without the barber? Which now we see, right?
Oh, brother, you right about that.
Hey, we can
right
go
about
online.
that.
We can go online now and see what the world would look like without the barber, brother. People got gray hair that people didn't even know had gray hair. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's my point. So in that, he says everybody has value. And so I took that in. And that's how he deals with people, because, some of us in our immaturity and being judgmental about certain things that go on, in our community. We want to know, well, why the minister ain't doing nothing? And, man, if I was in charge, these niggas would be this, and these niggas would be that. And he don't respond like that because his heart is made after the heart of God.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees, like the scripture says, the needs of the people. He knows that up underneath all of the dross is a God. So he has the patience to deal with them, because he knows one day, eventually, like the messenger told him, he's going to get us all. So then another piece, going back to the very first time I was blessed to cut his hair, he looked at our supreme captain. He said, son, only Allah is supreme. And he repeated it. And then he said, son, always remember to judge the people with justice. Judge the people with justice. He said, but it's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. He said, to be just is very difficult to do. He said, you have to literally practice every second of every minute of every hour of every day to try to be just. That's how difficult it is to be a just person. It's something that you have to continually be thinking on. That's how such a difficult task it is. And so, again, that's just in line with what the messenger told him, that justice goes to sleep at night with you, it wakes up with you, But this is how he handles the people, regardless of their stage or walk in life. He sees the value in them all, and he treats everyone with justice. No big eyes, no little U's. I've never seen anything like it in my life. The most gracious individual I've ever seen in my life. In my life.
Can you, anything comes to mind when you said the most gracious, the word humility came up. There's anything that you've seen or heard from him while you were in that setting with him that reflects his humility?
Wow. Let's see. Man. I heard him talking to someone on the phone one day. And this was around the time of one of our marches. And he was asking this individual for their help. And he said, brother, I need your help to do this. Because, all of these different things I don't know. So I need your help to help me do this. And that showed me supreme humility from a man who's been charged with the resurrection of the people, who was taught by a man who was taught by God. And so the foolish of us would say, well, if he the messenger of God, the Messiah, then why he got to ask people for? You don't understand. He sees, and he's told us this over the rostrum, each of you are a superior to me. And this is another thing that I've witnessed in him, that I've learned to know and love about him. It makes him so happy, Brother Minister Willie, to see us, our people, in the mosque or out of the mosque, in their greatness, discovering their gifts and doing what they do in an excellent fashion. It warms his heart to see us, you know, and a lot of us misunderstand because some of us are so withheld and afraid to step out on faith and try Allah for fear of whatever. But it's that expression of Allah that he gave each and every one of us as a gift. I mean, it brightens his day when I tell him things that people are doing, which brings me to this testimony that you invited your brother to. I said, Brother Minister Willie Muhammad from New Orleans, Mosque number 46, is doing his show today, a testimony. I said, and you know, he's had several believers on prior to today, and today he invited me on. He said, with a big smile on his face, "That's wonderful, brother.
Praise is due to Allah.
That's wonderful." He said, see, that's how you get people to be attracted to what it is you gave your life to, by bearing witness. He said, so bearing witness is a good thing. I said, all praise is due to Allah, Brother Minister. Thank you. All praise is due to Allah. See, because I mean, you know, some people feel like we worship the man. You know what I mean? And I think I made a post one time about, you know, Minister Jamil. And I was talking about how much of a brother he is and how much I love him and what he brings and with his presence whenever he's around the believers. And I ended my post with, and if you think I'm tooting this brother's horn or blowing smoke, you know, up his behind in words, I feel sorry for you. And I feel sorry that you don't have somebody in your life that brings you the kind of joy, peace, and happiness that a brother like Jamil can bring. But even with that, for us to have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and for a person like myself and others like yourself who have been, you know, giving their testimonies, man, it is just a wonderful blessing to be able to see a human being who loves his people to the point where he will die, give his life to see our people free. And he's always telling me to share with this one, share with that one. Tell him I said this. Tell him to keep going. I'm praying for him. Tell a brother, stop asking for permission and just do the work. Just make sure that you keep Allah in the forefront. If it's a good work and it's good for our people, keep Allah in the forefront and just go to work. This is often his message to me about those of us who are in the streets trying to do things and do work to go after our people. And that's the thing that I'm talking about. This is what pleases him and waters his soul. We got to increase our activity. All of us have been called to this thing for a reason. We have specific gifts and talents and skill sets that have to be put into practice for the glory of Allah. And the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is what has brought that out of me, and is what has allowed me in my practice and striving to be a good Muslim, a good FOI follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to be in the position that I am, to even, for you to even call me to give a testimony, brother, because I've expressed a gift that Allah has given me, and I've done it dutifully.
That makes me think about this as well. Like we said, you know, it's like a real intimate setting being a barber, between a barber and his client. And oftentimes you see people who are getting their hair cut, brothers will talk about what the ups, the downs, the trials, everything in their lives. You really begin to start seeing a person. And as you said, the world paints the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as this hater of white people. He's anti-Semitic. He's homophobic. He's this. But you have been there. Can you talk about how those false portrayals of him from you being there, how grossly incorrect the medias and those portrayals of him are?
Man, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a story that I had said I wanted to share with you.
Praise be to Allah.
Allah blessed me to be able to come to service him at a time where he was hospitalized. And at this particular time, he was telling me a story about one of the nurses who was a Caucasian woman. And this Caucasian woman was attending to him. And of course, you know, in conversation and sharing things, he's always asking, you know, he's concerned about the well-being of people, regardless of who they are. And so in, you know, conversating about how she is and how she's doing, you know, she began to talk about some issues that she was having with her daughter. The minister, without giving the details of the story, sold into this nurse's life and spirit regarding her daughter and what her daughter was going through, and giving her confidence and guidance on how to handle it, and encouraging her to increase her faith in God and pray to the God that she believed in, that he would protect her daughter and bring her out of the situation she was in, that it may save her life. And he said by the time he got through, the nurse was in tears.
And this is a Caucasian nurse.
This is a Caucasian nurse in the hospital, never met a woman before in his life, come into the room, and because he's always on his post, regardless of class, creed, or color, he sold into this woman's life. And she was in tears. And so then I'm there and I'm watching the other doctors come in and some of the other staff, and how they just lifted up, and how they love him, and, you know, their care is special. And, you know, and you can just tell that he's affected them just by the way, you know, that they're handling them, and his concern for them. They're there tending to him, and he's tending to them.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm just like, wow, this is unbelievable. And so this particular day he was being discharged, you know, and of course the woman came back in and thanked him, and, you know, and just talked about how much she appreciated him, and you know, just many thanks, you know, for what he did. So that's definitely one instance that I wanted to share with you, and also to serve as an answer to your question. And then, of course, we know his relationship with Father Flager here in Chicago, who he called his brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has a relationship with several others. I don't, want to mention names because I don't know what fallout may be.
Right.
But across racial lines, across religious lines, I've seen this man serve people and give them guidance, coach them along. Took a call from one brother overseas and was telling him to beware of some things. Again, going back to the devil, how the devil can creep in, and sharing with the brother to be careful about how the devil can creep in and beware of people who come to you offering you money. The brother responded, somebody approached me this morning. Man, this guy had no idea about that. But because Allah is working through him constantly, and his heart is to serve constantly, it's like a channel, brother. It's like a consistent flowing channel. And then he tells me, he said, brother, you notice that most times when you say something to me, I don't comment, or if you ask me a question, I'll get back to you. I don't give you an immediate answer. And I might come back a week later. I might come back at the end of the time when you leave me today, or next week or next month. He said, it's because when you're telling me something, I'm listening for Allah and what he wants me to give to you, not what I, Louis Farrakhan, want to give to you. He say, so I don't answer right away. And I'll wait for Allah to give me what to say to you, what he wants me to say to you about your situation, your predicament, or the answer to whatever question that you may be asking.
Wow.
Who thinks like that, brother?
It's true, man.
Who thinks like that, brother?
And it's interesting, like we talk about the mischaracterizations of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I know you've been around, and the minister, his wife, his daughters. Can you talk about the value that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan sees in the woman?
Oh my God. I could just talk about the love between him and Mother Khadijah.
Go ahead.
I've been blessed as well to style her hair with his permission. She told me a funny story. I'll say part of it. The first time I was with her, and prayers to Mother Khadijah and the Farrakhan family. May Allah, bless and protect them. She said, brother, did I ask you to do my hair, or did my husband? And I said, oh no, man, Mother Khadijah, the minister asked me to would I, do your hair, because he likes how I've taken care of his hair and the health and the condition that it's in. And so she said, oh, I was shocked. She said, because I ain't never let a man touch my head. And so it's a funny story behind that. But I won't tell that story. I won't go into details. I don't know if it's proper or not. But she said she was shocked because no other man had touched her hair in over probably 30, 40 years. So she was shocked that he allowed that. But Mother Khadijah, she is a MGT to the heart, brother minister. And like all of our conversation is about the messenger. It's about the messenger. And they're coming up, and she said, I never thought my husband was going to be, the minister. She said, we was just believers like everybody else, going to the mosque, paying charity. And, she said, I never saw anything like this, And she said, but, hey, all praises due to Allah, and her conversation is just, it's on Islam. And, she talks about, give me stories about the early days and, when they had to fight and she just, you can tell, you can see and sense and feel the adoration still at this point that she has for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Islam is all down in her, brother. And she's a warrior. Don't sleep her. She's a warrior. But in terms of the minister's love and respect for the woman, my God, man. You can see the graciousness, and just how he handles, he handles, women, and is a respecter of the virtue of women. And, he told me, because I have conversations with him about my daughter. I always talk to him about my daughter, and he always gives me guidance, to and for her. He told me, to protect her. And told me to tell her, don't let anybody, take anything from you. You fight like hell, and you fight to the death to protect your virtue, And he said, our women and girls are special, and they have to be protected. Because this world, as we already know, loves to undress them and, show them in a fashion that's unacceptable to Allah. But he says our women and our girls have to be protected, brother. And he constantly reminds me that they're not playthings, and that a woman should be revered, and that if we're the man that we should be, we wouldn't have the problems that most of us have out of our women. Because if we're being the men that we should be, we would naturally bring out what Allah deposited in them for us.
Beautiful, man.
So, yeah, all praise is due to Allah, man. It's really just it's really unbelievable, man. And I'm gonna share this.
Yeah.
It's personal, but I'm gonna share it. There's a woman who is very fond of me, attracted to me, and I talked to him about it. And brother, he has been guiding me on how to handle that situation. Because of my career, we're in close proximity to one another. And when I tell you, brother, that he has guided my behavior in every step of the way and how to interact with this woman, knowing how she feels about me. Like the Holy Quran is written and Allah is speaking to Muhammad. So we would have a conversation and he would say this, brother, to her when you see her. Tell me how she's going to respond to what I say. Then tell me what to say back to that. And I would do it and it would happen just like he said.
Wow.
And then I would just give him the report of how it happened. And then he said, well, nah, brother, this is going to happen. And exactly what he said happens will happen, brother minister. But what it showed me, but me and this sister, this woman, we're very close and very good friends. But what it showed me is that if we can discipline ourselves, we can get from them exactly, I mean, not even in an intimate, like not even with your wife, but just with the female in her nature. She serves man. Not in no sick way though, but it's according to how we conduct ourselves that it opens up in them things that Allah's deposited. To the point where This woman says to me, she feels like she was put here and we met for her to help me achieve certain goals and things that I want to achieve. No strings attached. I don't know. Now I'm gonna say this. I don't know. Allah knows the heart and the motive. But she telling me that no, you know, there ain't no strings attached. I just believe that this is what I'm here for. Now imagine if I'd have violated this woman, like the nigga would told in me would normally do. I would have ruined our relationship, soiled the spirit and environment of my workplace, and then who knows what would have come of it. But because of how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has trained and guided me as a man, as an FOI, he showed me how to discipline myself and conduct myself in a way that things don't get twisted.
Wow, that's a beautiful.
But at the same time, being able to experience the divine value of a female.
It's beautiful, man. That's beautiful, man.
It's unbelievable.
That's beautiful, and that's a reflection of the heart of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his love to know that, you know, that women are not to be played with or violated or misused, man. They are. God has gifted them with so many great talents. It's unfortunate that this world disrespects them. So in this last question, you know, two questions. One, I know you shared a lot, but I'm gonna ask this. It's two questions. The first one is, what is one of the most profound things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shared with you that you can share during this time of you being his barber? And then after that, we'll have the closing question.
Wow.
One of the most profound things you can think about. I know it's kind of like on the spot.
Yeah. Well, let me just share this story. It may answer or it may not.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I donated a kidney to one of my clients.
Wow.
Yes, I donated a kidney to one of my clients. Not a member of the nation. I didn't know him growing up. He ain't, you know, he's not my best friend or nothing. I mean, we're close, of course. He is my friend and my brother. I love him. But I met him as a client. You know what I mean? As a stranger, you know, a referral from his brother. So, okay, we're coming up onto, you know, this surgery. And so we prayed the last time I serviced him before I was getting ready to go, you know, into the hospital for surgery. The minister prayed with me. And Brother Earl was there also, because I had asked the minister's permission if Brother Earl could shadow me in styling his hair. Because that way he can be taken care of, because I'll be down for a few months. And he agreed, and Earl was there as well. And he prayed with us. And he guaranteed me that Allah was going to pull both of us through and we were going to be okay. And so, of course, there's something that had already wrapped my mind around psychologically. You know, that's something that's, you know, like nobody has volunteer surgery. You know what I mean? And, you know, you got to go through all kind of tests and measures to make sure that you're not out of your mind and that you realize what you're doing and the dangers. So it's like a 600 question psych test and all kind of things that you have to go through. So I was already had reconciled in my mind that I was going to do this, and whatever happened, happened. And after the minister's prayer, and he assured us that we would be okay, it was a no-brainer. We go into the hospital. We have the transplant. I come out of surgery. I'm fine. They tell me as soon as they were calling my kidney a super kidney, right? And I thank Allah for that and the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad and me striving a little bit to do how to eat to live, you know. They said as soon as they connected the kidney, he immediately urinated. Now, why is that special? Because the man hadn't urinated in normal fashion in over a year.
Damn.
He had total renal failure, kidneys completely shut down. He was on dialysis. So he couldn't use the bathroom like a normal healthy person uses the restroom. So that was very joyous to hear that as soon as they connected the kidney, he immediately urinated. And so now the next morning, we wake up. He goes into major rejection. Body's rejecting the kidney. He messed up. He crying. He apologizing to me. You know, brother, I'm sorry. You know, I had you give me this kidney and now it's not working, whatever. I said, no, sir, brother. No, sir. I said, I prayed with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he ensured me that Allah was going to protect us and that you and I both was going to be okay. I said, so no, sir, brother. Absolutely not. Don't apologize for nothing. Ain't no need to apologize. I knew what I was doing. I said, but brother, you're going to be all right because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said so, brother. Period. He said, okay. Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir. So it was a blessing that we were at a teaching hospital. When I said teaching hospital, University of Wisconsin, you know, that's where we were at. But these university hospitals, that's where they do a lot of experimentation. So we were at the University of Wisconsin, and of course, they were experimenting with stem cells research. So they were able to use stem cell research and blood plasma treatments to trick his body into producing the particular blood type of my of my kidney, so that the body would see it not as a foreign organ and accept it. So he had to stay in the hospital for I think another 6 days and continue these treatments. And finally, brother, the body began to accept the organ. And this was July 2015. And I think to this day, brother, he's healthier than I am.
Praise be to Allah. Man, I didn't know that, man. I didn't know you. I know there was a brother in our region. They gave the kidney a kidney. I know a sister did it, but I didn't know that, man. Praise be to Allah.
The sister went first, and then myself, and then if you're talking about my brother George from Florida,
yeah,
that's my brother, and I love him, man. He calls and checks in on me often.
Wow.
He donated to Brother Rasul.
Praise be to Allah. And this,
so yeah,
man. Go ahead. Make your point. Go ahead. You finished?
No, yeah. So I just want to say, man, I just want to give that story. But one of the most profound things is what I shared to you earlier about everybody having value. And this just popped in my head. This is one of the other things I wanted to make sure I told you. So all praises due to Allah. He's guiding it. The minister told me, brother, he said, you know, brother, I never look backwards at a thing that I do. Of course, I didn't understand what he meant when he said that, because it's something that I had brought up. I know what I brought up. I brought up the introduction of the Islamic conference. I believe it was 1997 the International Islamic Conference that we held here in Chicago, where they crowned the minister with the kufi and named him the leader of Islam. Everybody who's in earsight of this testimony, if you can go back and visit that lecture, particularly the introduction and what those circles that met and came together to build and lay out for our future is profound. So going back to the story, I was reminding him of that. And he had totally forgotten about the Islamic conference. So in that context, he was saying to me, wow. He said, a man has done so much, he can't even remember everything that he did. And then that's when he made this never look back at a thing. He said, when I do something, brother, and it's done, he said, what I realize is that when the thing is finished, it begins to die. So I never look back at it. I stay looking forward for the next thing to do. He said, that's why people always, when you conversate with them, much of the conversation is about what they used to do. Yeah, I used to be this and I used to do that. And when I was this and when I was that. He said, and that's why I stay relevant in the times, regardless of the generation, because I'm always looking forward to the next thing to do. And I said, wow. And he said, because I understand when you do a thing and it's over, that thing begins to die.
That's profound.
And I thought that, oh my God.
That's profound.
Yes, sir. Right. And I said, that's right in line with the messenger saying, you got one more thing to do, huh? And we started.
And the lessons when they say quick moving, fast thinking, right down to the modern times, you just keep moving, keep moving. The last question is, there are people that I've come into contact with who've been blessed to have the ability to be around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There are people I know who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan may have put they were down on their luck financially, and he wrote them a check to cover a note, to help them for a down payment on a house. He prayed for them, all these things. Yes. And for whatever the reasons may be, some people I find they're a little hesitant. They may not be comfortable speaking on venue platforms like this. But as the minister said, he said that his witness bearers are too silent. And his closing question, what advice would you give to people who have a testimony that they can share that can help somebody get a better understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but they might be sitting on it? What advice would you tell them that can help them overcome that hump?
Well, I can give it to him. I can give it to you first spiritually. That's no different than the parable in the Bible of the men who were given the talents. One buried one hoarded the other one and, didn't do anything with it. And then the other one went and multiplied it. He utilized it and multiplied it. And then when the man returned to check to see what the people did with their talents, the one that buried one thought he had did something. I buried it. The man that hoarded his, hey, I kept it just as you gave it to me. He snatched their talents from both of them and gave it to the man who took his stuff and multiplied it. That's like being niggardly. What are you afraid of? It goes back to what I was saying about how the minister enjoys seeing us bear witness and fulfilling the greatness that Allah has put into us, because it's him that we're ultimately expressing, the God. So I would humbly say to them, give good news to the believers. The brothers, they, talking about, man, give me some hadith, give me some hadith. And I had to really take a look at that one day, Brother Willie, because if the hadith is the companions of Muhammad, some of the hadith are taken as with as much value as ayats in the Quran. Because it's the words and the experiences of the messenger of Allah. And just as importantly, there are things that bear witness to the personal nature of the person. Like me saying I wouldn't believe, that a man can be humanly, divinely human, unless I experience that. So when I share things like that with people, I see the effect that it has on them based on my relationship and the energy that I'm bringing. And sometimes I don't see it, Brother Willie, but when I'm sharing, people like, man, the minister's spirit is coming all through you. I feel like I'm sitting down talking to him. And that's not something that I'm trying to do. I'm giving you what I received as best as I can. So I'm trying to translate the same energy, spirit, tone, and these things, man, believe it or not, brother, they have an effect on people's lives. Even when you're sharing something with someone you don't necessarily have to tell them you're sharing this from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but it's an experience that you had or guidance that he's given you or something that you've witnessed that you're now replicating and the effect that it has on the life of an individual, man. We're saviors, we told. And so for somebody to be that up close and personal, you know, like a disciple to Jesus, but then for whatever reason it is, may Allah remove whatever reason it is, fear or whatever, if you think in terms of helping people, I think they would be different about going about that. Some people may think it's braggadocious. I don't know, brother. I can't speak for them. However, the point in your question and my answer is that you never know, brother, whose life you can save by sharing an experience you have with the messenger of God.
Ooh. That's making me throw my hands up on that one, my brother. And that is, and we close, you know, in the book of Revelation, it says that the dragon was defeated by the power, by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony.
Allahu Akbar.
So, brother, thank you, man. I thank you for having the willingness to share, and you shared so many jewels. And I know there's so much like, but what Allah wanted to come out, it came out, you know.
Indeed, indeed.
And we're going to take this, we'll put it on our YouTube page, and other people will have it on Facebook. But thank you, man. May Allah continue to bless you. I know you're going to handle your business. Inshallah, I'll give you a call later. We'll talk some more, but see you soon, man.
You're more than welcome. I appreciate you, and I love you, and give the believers the greeting. And the minister extends the greetings to all of the believers and all of those who are watching, yourself, Brother Secretary Chief. He extends the greetings to all of you all of Assalamu alaikum and his love.
Thank you. And please return the greetings of alaikum salam to Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'll let Brother Jason know that. So hopefully he watches so he can hear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
Love you, man. Alaikum salam. Yes, sir.